So I'm here in my semi-public backyard, and today I'm going to read an excerpt from Stephen King's Dark Tower series, book number 5, called Wolves of the Calla. And yeah, this one's really killer to hold up in the bathtub, but it has this one amazing scene in it that I'm going to read part of today.
The torches were orange. Roland stood in their light, gunless and slim-hipped as a boy. For a moment he only looked out over the silent watching faces, and Eddie felt Jake's hand, cold and small, creep into his own. Never had he seen a man who looked so lonely, so far from the run of human life with its fellowship and warmth. To see him here, in this place of fiesta, for it was a fiesta no matter how desperate the business that lay behind it might be, only underlined the truth of him. He was the last. Slowly, Roland crossed his arms over his chest, narrow and tight, so he could lay the palm of his right hand on his left cheek, and the palm of his left hand on his right cheek. This meant zilch to Eddie, but the reaction from the 700 or so Calla folk was immediate, a jubilant, approving roar that went far beyond mere applause. Roland stood as he was, arms crossed, palms on cheeks, until they quieted. "We are well met in the Calla," he said. "Hear me, I beg." "We say thank ye," they roared, and "hear you very well." Roland nodded and smiled. "But I and my friends have been far, and we have much yet to do and see. Now, while we bide, will you open to us if we open to you?" Eddie felt a chill. He felt Jake's hand tighten on his own. "It's the first of the questions," he thought. Before the thought was completed, they had roared their answer. "Aye, and thank ye." "Do you see us for what we are, and accept what we do?" There goes the second one, Eddie thought, and now it was him squeezing Jake's hand. "Gunslingers!" someone shouted. "Gunslingers! Fair and true, say thank ye. Say thank ye in God's name." As they quieted, Eddie waited for him to ask the last question, the most important one. "Do you seek aid and succor?" Roland didn't ask it. He said merely, "We'd go our way for tonight, and put down our heads, for we're tired. But I'd give ye one final song, and a little step-toe before we leave, so I would, for I believe you know both." A jubilant roar of agreement met this. They knew it all right. "I know it myself, and love it," said Roland of Gilead. "I know it of old, and never expected to hear the rice song again, from any lips, least of all from my own. I am older now, so I am, and not so limber as I once was. Cry your pardon for the steps I get wrong." "Gunslinger, we say thank ye," a woman called. "Such joy we feel, aye." "And do I not feel the same?" the gunslinger asked gently. "Do I not give you joy from my joy, and water I carried with the strength of my arm and my heart?" He stood for a moment longer in the orange glow as if gathering his strength, and then he began to dance something that was caught between a jig and a tap routine. It was slow at first, very slow, heel and toe, heel and toe. Again and again his boot heels made that fist on coffin top sound, but now it had rhythm. Just rhythm at first, and then, as the gunslinger's feet began to pick up speed, it was more than rhythm. It became a kind of jive. That was the only word Eddie could think of, the only one that seemed to fit.
The end. See you next week.